Welcome to Nationalism Hour on the Think Yoruba First podcast. I am your host, Abiodun. And alongside me is my dynamic co-host, Oluwatosin.
That's right, Abiodun. We are here to ignite your spirit and celebrate the pride, strength, and vision of our Yoruba heritage with our esteemed president, Oladimeji Bolarinwa.
Every episode, we dive deep into the heart of Yoruba identity, culture, and progress, challenging ourselves to think Yoruba first in all we do. This is Nationalism Hour, where we uplift, inspire, and build a future rooted in our legacy.
So, get ready for bold conversations, powerful insights, and a call to action with the president of Think Yoruba First organization, Oladimeji Bolarinwa. Let's make history together. Oòduà á gbè wá o.
It's another beautiful evening. Happy weekend, my people, everywhere you're listening to us. Once again, we greet you all in the name of Olodumare. We are discussing, I greet everybody in the audience and beautiful comrades on stage. This is like your evening radio. And the music, we are going to be singing. The song we are going to be playing is going to be the song of Yoruba Renaissance in the form of deep mysteries and deep knowledge about Yoruba geopolitics and Yoruba history. Once again, my name is Oladimeji Bolarinwa, and I'm the president of Think Yoruba First organization. And like I used to say, I greet you all in the name of Olodumare. The topic we are discussing today, if it is possible, we will not be able to discuss if we are to go deep. 24 hours will not be enough to unpack what I will be trying to do in 30 minutes. But I will try as much as possible to be as succinct as possible and to be as explicit as possible. Who was Oromia? Some people call him Oranya, which is a paroje of Oromia. And Oromia was a son of Oduduwa. Whether a grandson or a direct son, he is still a son of Oduduwa. And who was Oduduwa? Oduduwa was the person that united the Ife kingdoms, the Ife crown, under one rulership and properly instituted what what some people call Ife civilization, another which some people call Oduduwa civilization, another which some people call Ife or Yoruba civilization. But for the sake of to be more specific, I will be calling it Oduduwa civilization. This topic is extremely important because if you understand this topic, you will never join people to go and be opening Twitter Spaces, TikTok Live, or any frivolous debates and be fighting for who is superior between the Ooni of Ife versus the Aláàfin of Ọ̀yọ́, or you will not even be engaging some funny individuals from Benin who are trying to provoke and denigrate the Oduduwa civilization, which they actually borrowed from Ife. But I will be talking academically, and I want you, my listeners, my fellow comrades, to follow up what I'm saying. Yoruba land is divided into 4 geopolitical blocks. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't pay attention. Yoruba land is a civilization block, not even actually an ethnic, and not really actually an ethnic block. It is the Nigerian state that has transformed the Yoruba people into an ethnic block. Meanwhile, we are a civilization block. That is why there are a lot of controversies in Yoruba land as regards to what is what, who is who. It is because of we do not have the intellectuals to properly define us in the as who we are in the 21st century. If you look at Arewa does not define itself along ethnicity. During the Sokoto Caliphate, the Fulani and the Fulani ideology and suzerainty was not pronounced. It was Fulani or nothing during the Sokoto Caliphate. But immediately they got into Nigeria, they changed and they started using Islamic civilization. Why did they do that? They did that in order to create a space for the Kanuris. So they look for a commonality between the Kanuri bloc in the northeast and the Fulani bloc in the northwest, and created Arewa based on Islamic civilization. In the case of Yoruba land, especially the old western region, you can insult the British. But the British, who socially engineered and created western region before Zeke was able to use NCNC to break the western region apart. The Oduduwa civilized the western region was monolithic in terms of civilization. When the Connaught speaks about one North, they are speaking as regards Islamic civilization. And when we talk about one Yoruba land, we are talking about a monolithic Oduduwa civilization, which was created and instituted through diplomacy, through war, and through the Ife Ebi system of empire building by Prince Oromio. So there's where I'm going. I said Yoruba land is divided into different blocks. And if you start understanding these fundamentals, a lot of things you are going to understand a lot of things as regards to Yoruba land and how we are going to navigate the stormy waters of the different diversity amongst the Ife descended groups in the space that we call Yoruba land, within and outside Nigeria. You see, Oromiyan, okay, I said there are different blocks. Within Yoruba land, we have the coastal block, we have the eastern block, we have the northwestern block, and we have Ile-Ife, which is the center and the fulcrum of that civilization. If you look at the northern block, that is where Oyo Empire rules. And that is where, in medieval times, and that was where Oromiyan, because if you look at how strategic Oromiyan was during Prince Oromiyan was able to move to strategic places in that area of West Africa to export Ife civilization to those strategic places, you are going to know that this man is not an ordinary man. This was a man who was the first Oba of Benin. This was a man who was the first Alaafin of Oyo. And this was a man who was the sixth Oni of Ife. So we are talking about one of the greatest generals, the greatest political figures that the world has ever seen, the greatest empire building figure the world has ever seen. One of the greatest. So, but unfortunately, we've not been able to properly discuss Oromiyan because of the lack of geopolitical knowledge in Yoruba land and because of the lack of proper political education and political maturity amongst the Yoruba people. Now, going further, if you look at the coastal block of Yoruba land, the people that actually control the hegemony that controls the coastal block are the Ijebus. I'm not saying we don't have the Ilajes along that line. We have the Calais there, but and please, if you're listening to me tonight, maybe it is morning where you are, I want you to be open-hearted. Don't be emotional. This is one of the things that TYF preaches. And this is one of the things we say. So that we can properly understand where we are coming from and where we are going. So when you look at the eastern section, that was where, so the Ijebus, another Yoruba group, they control the coast. That's why the Shekiris are almost majorly in its entirety an Ijebu from the Ijebu extraction of Yoruba land. And they are also principalities and lords of the coast. So you look at Tepe, Ikorodu, so Ijebus were actually the hegemon of the coastal line in pre-colonial Yoruba land, Yoruba country. So you also look, and that's why they are good with trade, because they had access to the coast for a long time. But you look at the eastern section of Yoruba land, and I think it's one of the most preserved Yoruba civilization that you can ever have, in terms of dialects, in terms of customs, in terms of heritage. The eastern section of Yoruba land is well preserved. And I'm talking about Owo, Ekiti, Okun, all these places Akoko, they are well preserved. The Ife civilization in those axes have not been mixed or interrupted. So you look at the situation of things currently. I'm just trying to make a formula, trying to make you understand. If there was no Oromiyan, that went to create the Benin dynasty, the Igbos will be surely having a direct border with current day Yoruba land. So that creation of the Benin dynasty was a form of a buffer between the main base of the Yoruba people and the people from that axis of the eastern portion. And you also look at Oyo. Many people don't know that Oyo State has borders with Baribas, with Nupes, and a lot of northern groups. That place is one of the most dangerous places in West Africa. That axis of, when you go to Kishi, you go to Igboho, you go to very close to the Moshi River, and you ask yourself today, you ask yourself this question: You go to River Nile, Jeba, you go to Shao, and you start asking yourself, like our forefathers were extremely strategic in creating another outpost in that axis. Look, Ife, Oyo, and Benin were basically military and economic outposts of Ife civilization that later transformed into an empire. So the eastern section, the biggest hegemony in that eastern section was the Benin hegemony. It's the bitter truth, which is an Oromiyan power base. Nobody's going to deny that. And this is now where the importance of Ife and properly understanding how Ife was created, Ife, when it comes to the Yoruba center of gravity. Ife is the source of Yoruba civilization. It is the fundament, that is where it is like the Rome of Yoruba civilization. It's like the Constantinople of Byzantine civilization. So Ife is extremely important, Ile-Ife, as regards to the survival and power of the Yoruba people. Now, this is now where it gets interesting. Even though Ife is the source of civilization, we need to try to find a power and be able to navigate the geopolitical reality that we found ourselves within Nigeria. I want to tell you what is going on. I want to expose something that is going on in Benin, in Edo State and Delta State. What the Benin people are not saying, and I'm going to say it, is that they are trying to build an empire in Nigeria. Because you look at Edo State, where the symbol of Edo State, the symbol of the Edo identity itself is intertwined with the Oba of Benin. And who are the people within that sphere of influence in Edo State and Delta State? Many of the people there are non-Benis. They are not. But what has happened is that just the way Oromiyan left Ile-Ife to go and create Benin, Benin also now started exporting Oduduwa civilization. And by taking Oromiyan Yoruba princes from the Oromiyan line to go and be ruling the Ika people, who are Igboid people, to be ruling the Igbos in that area of Onisha, to be ruling the Ikweres in that area of the area we call South, to be ruling the Isokos and the Urobos. Because that is the bitter truth. Most of the powerful dynasties, even to be ruling the Yoruba people, Yoruba people in Use, in Egbeta, in Edo State, even towards Akoko, because it is an empire. It is an empire. Even in Ishuakoko, in Ondo State, the ruling dynasty is from Benin, but via the Oromiyan line, which is from Ile-Ife. So you now understand what we are facing. The same thing happened. So the same thing happened in Oyo. So what happened in Oyo was that the princes were also now like for far. So many Oyo princes from the Oromiyan line again started moving across to create settlements, create cities, create kingdoms. So that's how they became a powerful hegemony. But the Oduduwa civilization itself, the unification of that crown at Ile-Ife and the creation of that political stability was not achieved just by mere diplomacy. There was war between the Oduduwa group, faction bloc, and the Obatala group. That was how the crown at Ife was united into one bloc. What I'm trying to tell you, I'm not here to talk to you. Look, when you understand Yoruba identity and history, you will stop talking about ethnicity. You will be talking about civilization. Because in Nigeria, Arewa is not talking about ethnicity. That is why they are an Arewa supremacist. We will openly say that Ilorin is not. Jeba is not. Shawo is not. He is not talking about that. That is why they were the argument that the Connaught is always using to categorize Kwara State as part of the Connaught is this. The argument is that Islamic civilization triumphs the Oduduwa civilization in Kwara State. That is the argument. What is the commonality between the Kanuris and the Fulanis? Absolutely nothing. Ethno-linguistically, historically. But the commonality is the Afro-Asiatic Islamic civilization. So, they've been able to create a powerful civilization bloc in the Connaught. Why will the Yoruba people, unfortunately, we are still pedestrian in our thinking. We are not following the footstep of Oduduwa and the footstep of Oduduwa and the footstep of Oromiyan. Because what Oromiyan did is extremely important for the has been so crucial in the survival of Yoruba land. So the spiritual controls the physical. Anybody saying that when we say the Ooni of Ife is the spiritual father of is the spiritual leader of the Yoruba people, it's so true. And the spiritual is higher than the physical. Amoyo, so any kind Amoyo, but any form of argument that is coming from the Alaafin is superior to the Ooni of Ife should not be entertained. It is absolutely ridiculous to be having such conversation. And as people will always change history and fabricate history. That is, we all know that. But we need to be mentally mature so that we don't self-implode as a people. And I still know that a day is coming. Just like it happened in time past. And it happened during the Western region. Both the Alaafin, both the Ooni of Ife, the Alaafin of Oyo, the Oba of Benin, we all sit together and chart a common path for the Oduduwa civilization. Because the Oduduwa civilization is one. It is one and it is the same. Now, I am not saying that the other civilizations are not correct, are not, other kingdoms in Yoruba land are not important. But I'm talking about the importance of power. To unite a people and to unite a group to create a civilization. It is more than saying, oh, Bobo Akpata, we're all speaking Yoruba language. Or we're all speaking the same language. We're all from the same source. It does not work that way. And I'm going to give you instances. The Turkish people and the Azerbaijanis, they all belong to the Turkic tribe. They speak the same language, yet in different countries. The Kosovos, people are Albanians in Kosovo and the Albanians in Albania. They speak the same language, the same people, yet in different countries. The Germans in Germany and the Germans in Austria, same people, same language, same behavior, same everything. Even Adolf Hitler was an Austrian, yet in different countries. And if you read how the modern Germany was created, it was one big hegemon, one of the most powerful states among the Germanic tribes that led the call, the charge for the unification of the Germanic-speaking people in Europe into a powerful state. The reason why Austria was kicked out of that union was this. Austria was Catholic, Germany was Protestant, even though they are both Christians. And I think this is very, very explanatory. And it is extremely wrong for us not to understand. And it did not even just unite. Hanover never wanted to be part of Germany, even though they were Germans. Bavaria never wanted to be Germany, even though they were Germans. So it is common, it is normal for somebody, for some groups, Ishekiris who are Yoruba people, to just say, we know we are Yorubas, just leave us alone. They are not doing anything wrong. It is normal for Oba of Benin, even though he carries the blood of Oduduwa in his vein, to say, I don't want to be part of the Oduduwa civilization bloc. It is not left for us, brothers and sisters, Yoruba nationalists of the 21st century, comrades, for us to pursue systematically, ideologically, the unification of the Oduduwa bloc. Because in our unity as a bloc at the civilization level is what is going to actually make us powerful. And I'm not moved when I see all sorts of these young boys and girls on Twitter saying all sorts of nonsense. This toxicity was never there until Nigeria happened. So we should start thinking, this toxicity of some groups, especially from the Benin bloc, saying all sorts of nonsense against the Yoruba people, was not there until Nigeria happened. This toxicity from the Oyo bloc against Ife was not there, because I know history, until Nigeria happened to us. So Nigeria happened to us, we should be also smart, not to fall into the trap of those that are using these little issues amongst us as a big problem, as a weak point. Maybe people don't know the issue of the Oba of Benin and the Alaafin of Oyo was one of the reasons why Western Empire was broken into pieces and why Awolowo did not achieve what he was supposed to achieve. So we need to be careful. If you see anybody talking about, look, the brutal war between the Sokoto Caliphate and the Kano Borno Empire, hundreds of thousands of people perished in that war. They fought a brutal war because Sokoto Caliphate wanted to forcefully, using force of arms, to unite and attack and invade the Kanuri Empire. Could not succeed. But what did they do? They used statecraft to unite those disparate blocks into a powerful bloc within the context of Nigeria. And if Nigeria breaks to tomorrow, don't be surprised that they are still going to be one united bloc. So we need to understand what needs to be done. We need to understand how we are going to navigate the stormy waters of geopolitics. That's why I said in geopolitics, you are going to be emotionally mature. People are going to insult you. People are going to denigrate you. Yet you are still going to do what you need to do to survive. So when you look at the entire Yoruba land should be treated on a civilization level. Because I'm on here, there's a limit to which I cannot be able to go further than this. But I know a lot of you that have been conversant with my teachings, the teachings of TYF, you know what we're talking about. So there's nothing impossible. We are the same people. Because we all practice the same civilization. Yoruba land is a civilization block. That is why we are powerful. That is the source of our power. And we need to operate at the civilization level. We are not tribes. We are not tribes. We are not just a local government level people. No, we need to operate at that highest level of
True,
human advancement, which is civilization block. So it doesn't matter, maybe some people are in the south, some people are in the north central or middle belt, or some people are in the southwest. We can use our voices, we can use through the proper narrative like we are doing here. Like, this is what Yoruba land is all about. Look, brothers and sisters, I'm not going to say some things here publicly, but there are powers and there are hegemonies. Within Yoruba land, Ijebu Awujale of Ijebu is an hegemony on its own. The Oba of Benin is an hegemony on its own. The Alaafin of Oyo is an hegemony on its own. And where at the center of this hegemony is the Ooni of Ife. Now, I'm wrapping up in 2-3 minutes because I know my time is fast spent. And I want us to learn from what happened, the statecraft that happened in the corner. Look, the corner should have exploded and broken into pieces 40, 50 years ago. But just like some people say, it's like these people have international or external advisors that have been able to give them the advice for them to be able to survive. Now, the Sultan of Sokoto, that role used to be a political role as the leader of the Sokoto Caliphate, while the Emir of Gwandu, the brother of Sultan of Sokoto, Abdullahi Dampodio, was the spiritual leader to the spiritual leadership in Gwandu. Now, when the Fulanis found themselves in Nigeria, due to the Berlin West African Conference and the amalgamation of Nigeria of 1914, which created Nigeria, what did they do? They now did what? They now transformed the Sultan of Sokoto from being just a physical political leadership and took the spiritual leadership from Gwandu and gave the Sultan of Sokoto as the spiritual leader of the Afro-Asiatic Islamic civilization in that area of the Sahel. They took it further by 1975 and said the entire Muslims in Nigeria is under the Sultan of Sokoto, which many of us are fighting tooth and nail. This is not correct. The same thing applies to the Ooni of Ife. He is the spiritual leader of the Yoruba race and the spiritual custodian of the Yoruba civilization. If you know what I've packed in that thing, it is far bigger than what people say, what people are thinking. Even though there have been different pre-colonial narrative that subscribes and affirms what I said, that there is no king like Ife or Ooni of Ife, is referred like the Pope, just like the Pope was in the Holy Roman Empire. So all this display of power, this display of relevance, this display of hegemony, this display of strength, this display of brute strength. If you know the history of Oromiyan, you are never, it's also called Odede, and it's also called the Odele Odua, who was like the first youth, like a youth leader of the Odua dynasty. So so it is so important for us to understand power. Look, sentiment does not solve anything. I've seen a lot of people say, I want to say something very controversial. I've seen a lot of people try to rubbish Shawon of Ogbomoso and say, some people are Obalade. I know, we all know that. There are some cities, some kingdoms in Yoruba land that many people don't even know, that those cities have been existing for the past 1,000 years. And there are some cities, and the crown from their head is straight from Ife. And there are some cities that just existed 200 years ago. But when it comes to geopolitical power and relevance, We must understand that some places are extremely powerful to be protected. I wish I could go on and on, but I will end with this. There's a lot of things I've touched. There are two ways in which kingdoms, powers, and crowns are given, or you get it in Yoruba land, within Oduduwa civilization. It's either you inherit it, or it's either you get it through war. And those who got it through war, a good example, we have two examples: the Showon of Ogbomoso and the Timi Agbali of Ede. They got their crown being war generals of the Oyo Empire. Now, are you going to tell me in geopolitical reality that the Showon of Ogbomoso is not important in preserving that axis of northern Yoruba land
Alright, please help us round it off.
from Nupe and Bariba expansionism? So Oromiyan deserves to be continued to be respected. Even the god of war of Ibadan, when Ibadan became a republic, later into a mini empire, the god of war of Ibadan was Oromiyan. When they want to go to war, they do not summon Ogun, they summon the spirit of Oromiyan to lead them into battle. So we need to it is wrong and totally unwise for you to be saying, oh, because you are pro Oyo, you are insulting Ife. Because you are pro Ife, you are insulting Oyo, and you call yourself a Yoruba conservative or a Yoruba nationalist, then something is actually wrong. You are not. You are just a tribal supremacist. If you think you are Ife or you think you are Oyo, you are superior to an Egba man, you are a tribalist, not a Yoruba nationalist. Thank you.
And that wraps up another powerful episode of Nationalism Hour on the Think Yoruba First podcast. Remember, our past is our foundation, but our future is in our hands. Let's keep pushing the vision, living the values, and standing proudly as children of Oduduwa. Until next time, stay rooted, stay proud,